Dan, what are some of the major issues that you see that these regional networks have?
Well, I'd just love to keep asking Don a bunch of questions, too, because
Okay.
I think when we work like with a denomination, say Christian Missionary Alliance, 2,200 churches, you have that many churches in a state. So, and I know some of those dynamics, but similar issues that are involved. I find the primary issue, and again, we tend to consult, coach out of our gift mix and our strength, but I find the critical issue to creating a healthy coaching network, a regional network, is what I would define as philosophical unity. And I think all of us in this room would pretty much say our mission is to make disciples and make disciples. That's a great commission. But when I talk philosophical unity, what I'm talking about is, what does that mean? What is a disciple? How do you define a disciple? How do you measure disciples? What's your metrics for this? What's the definition? How do you clarify leadership? How do you clarify workers? How do you clarify believers? How do you clarify seekers? It's that philosophical unity that we work on the same page. And my experience is, in a region, for example, I'm at Southeast right now, and I see that as a mega network, 400 staff, but you got silos everywhere. Great church, great fruitfulness, 10% conversion growth rate a year for the last 20 years, just finished 50 years. But many of their even staff come from similar schools, but you start working with them, and they're all over the map in terms of what's a philosophy of ministry look like. What's disciple making look like? And so my whole grid on that, until you bring alignment, and that's my key word, alignment for philosophical unity, alignment for disciple making. What does that mean? What does that look like? Until you bring that alignment, it's almost impossible. You can waste so much time coaching and consulting because you use a term, they use it totally different. So my experience is, if I can get philosophical alignment, biblical philosophical alignment, then coaching, I coach back to that alignment.
What are some of those terms that you've come across?
The whole issue of disciple making. Just noticing the manual. What's disciple making? The history of that. I mean, you say the word disciple. We don't even use the word discipleship at Southeast. We ban that because when you say disciple making, that's the mission. Make disciples. But then you got to define that historically. It's not evangelism, it's not discipleship, it's the whole process. So some terms like that. What's your model for disciple making? One of my favorite books, I'm sure all of us are familiar with the term here, Christology defines your missiology, which determines your ecclesiology. Okay, and I remember when that was first stated at Exponential about 10 years ago, I got 100 texts from people saying, Dan, that's what you've been saying all your life. But then 3 books came out on Christology, what's good Christology? And one of my favorite books, the whole first chapter on the importance of getting back to Jesus. We got to understand disciple making from Jesus, but then the rest of the book was on how Paul did it. And totally different approaches, totally different mindsets, totally different framework. So, and again, there's a lot of approaches to this, but that alignment to disciple making, who's your model? and what's your framework? Because you cannot, it's hard to cooperate if you're not playing off the same playbook.